Doubt, fear, uncertainty. What do we do when these things take hold? What do we do when the personal mind is so strong, is so loud that it clouds your judgment, that it completely derails your spiritual path, your presence, your inner knowing of what you truly are? What do we do when the personal mind is so loud? This is what I've been struggling with the last couple of weeks. And I haven't wanted to record this podcast. I haven't wanted to show up because being someone that teaches, that shares about connecting to the truth of who you are, and that is not the mind. It is this innate part of us, our soul, this inner being, connecting to that truth and knowing who we truly are is separate from the mind. And I deeply know that. I deeply know that, and I deeply feel that. But sometimes my personal mind is loud and and strong and all encompassing, and that's what I've been navigating the last couple of weeks. And so it feels quite it's felt quite inauthentic to show up when I felt trapped in what I help others navigate through. And so I'm coming on now to share this with you, to to share my experience of what happened, how I navigated it, and how you too can go through these difficult times. Because no matter how long you've been on this spiritual path for, no matter how much you connect to the truth of who you are, at the end of the day, we are still human and we have a mind. And depending on how old you are, you have had decades of conditioning that listening to your mind, that figuring things out, that finding solutions through logic, through, perseverance is the way to plan your life, resolve your life, all of those things. So over the last couple of weeks, I have felt very uncertain. There's been a lot of doubt. There's been a lot of fear. There's been a lot of questioning, like, am I on the right path? Am I any good at this? What should I be doing? I'm sure many of you have experienced similar things, like really doubting where you're at, doubting what you're here for, and feeling the fears rise up within you. And for me, especially when this happens, I also have been very hard on myself because I should know better, right? I should know better. I do know how to navigate these things. I do know how to connect within. I do know how to let go. But sometimes, no matter what we do, no matter how much we go back to our practices, how much we try and come back to presence, there can be this voice in our head that will not shut up, that is so loud. And that's where I've been. And so what that also created within me was feelings of being authentic, feeling like a fraud, because how can I share and teach to be present, connect to the true self, and to overcome the personal mind, dissolve the personal mind if I felt very trapped there? And actually, yesterday, I was doing some meditation, and then afterwards, one of the things I find very powerful, really connecting to my higher self, is sort of doing some free journaling. Once I've connected, and I teach in some of my programs, Source Connection really teaches you how to connect to your higher self and receive guidance. And this is a way that I really love to do it. And I've always innately done it, but I do it a lot more deliberately now. So connecting to my higher self, and then just journaling and asking a question to my higher self, to the God within, the consciousness, that source that connects all things. And I asked a question, and what flowed through was that in the moment of sharing, right? In the moment of sharing, connecting, speaking, when I feel the resonance of what I'm teaching, when it flows through me, it is authentic. It is authentic. It doesn't mean that I don't have a personal mind and that I don't sometimes get caught up in doubts and fears. We all do. We all have, we're all on different stages of our journey, and I can be both a teacher and a work in progress, right? I do not need to be perfect. And this has been one of my big challenges to overcome in this space is how can I still be on this journey? How can I still be dealing with challenges and helping others? And it really came through in a profound way yesterday is that is our magic. When we share what we go through in an authentic way, when we share our struggles and how we overcome them, or the processes we use to come back into truth, to come back into our presence, into our power, that is our power, right? That is our power on this planet to help and serve each other, is that when we share from a real authentic place, what we have gone through and how we've overcome it, it serves and helps many, right? So it's not my job, your job, to be perfect, to never spiral, to never fall into doubt and fear. It's not our job to be perfect. It's our job on this planet to learn and grow and expand. And so that is always a work in progress. And one of the things that, I've really come to realize is that every time we have a little breakdown, right? A little breakdown, there is another breakthrough. And so, our journey often looks like this, right? We're rising, for those of you that are listening to the podcast and not looking at this as a visual, it's sort of like going up a hill, but with dips, right? So we're sort of going up and down, but overall you're going in an upward trajectory, right? So for every little dip, for every little downfall, for every little, what I want to call ego relapse, there is another rise, there is another learning, there is a deepening of things. And so often when we have these sort of what I want to call like sort of an ego relapse, I'm just coining that phrase right now, claiming it, ego relapse, there is a deeper learning, there's a deeper understanding. And so for me personally, it's been about being able to realize that, like I said, I can be a teacher and a work in progress. I don't need to be perfect, right? I don't need to be perfect. I can, as long as I'm feeling the resonance and the truth of what I'm speaking right now in this moment, which I absolutely do, it's okay that sometimes there is doubt, right? There is doubt. I understand that is my personal mind, that is the egoic mind, and that's the part that I'm always trying to dissolve, let go of, take back the power to that deeper truth of who I am. And so, and I know in a deep way, I do know in a deep way that everything is always working out for me and that I am being led along my highest timeline. But what can happen is when there are real world challenges, right, whether they be in relationships or financially or with work or business or whatever it is, when there are real world big challenges for significant things, I understand that it feels harder to trust that. It feels harder to trust that you are always being guided, that you are on your right path. And sometimes, like I said, we will fall. Sometimes we will get caught up in the stories and get caught up in the loops. But I have known for the last couple of weeks that it is my work to come back to this place of presence. What I'm grateful for now is that I have enough awareness to know when my egoic mind is loud and it's taking me in a bit of a spiral, and no matter how many practices or, techniques I use to come back to presence, to release that part of me, it's still there. And what's happening is, as it's still there, and as I'm doing various processes to release it, like I said, the grip is lessening, right? The grip diminishes somewhat. And so it's okay. It's okay that those moments happen because there is always a deeper learning. There is always a deeper learning. There is always a lesson for us. There is always a new understanding that we are being guided through. And so I never like to I never like to sort of use the term that the universe or source is testing you. I don't believe that that's the case. But I believe that the universe, source, your higher self is teaching you, right? Is teaching you. And so if there is a part of you, the personal mind, that is in your way of moving forward on your highest timeline, then you will be guided through whatever circumstances, experiences need to happen in order for you to release that part of you, to release that the hold that it has on you. And it may be to reveal an inner block, something that you've been holding on to, some subconscious programs, some sabotaging behaviors, whatever it is. It's about understanding that has come up for a reason to be released, right? To be released. And like I said, for me, I definitely know that the biggest lesson over these last couple of weeks has been that one, I've had some new awarenesses about just how I want to live my life, and sort of have made some some shifts into how I view things, the perspectives that I have. But the deeper lesson really has been that I can be a teacher and a work in progress at the same time. I can help guide others and share what flows through me, and I can still work on my own stuff, right? We're always going to have our own stuff. And actually, something that I went back and started again in the last week is reading The Surrender Experiment. It's my favorite book ever. Michael Singer. If you've not read it, go and read it. It's amazing. It'll change your life. And also The Untethered Soul is another book of his, which some of you might have heard of, and that's also amazing. But The Surrender Experiment has definitely been probably the most impactful book on my life. And it's all about how Michael completely surrenders in such a profound way to the flow of life, diminishing, releasing all of his likes and dislikes, which is what I teach as well, is that when we release that personal perspective, the likes, the dislikes, the wanted, the unwanted, we can then be guided on our highest timeline, because our likes and our dislikes are very much programmed by our personal mind, by what our personal mind believes will make us happy. But our personal mind is always operating from a place of lack and limitation, right? So it's what I call our soul's desires, the highest desires that really are the ones that we want to follow, the ones that sort of feel very given to us, that have no attachment to them. And when we completely trust that flow of life of where we're being led, and we say yes to what is coming to us, we'll be led in a completely different direction. So for me, I found that very grounding, and it reminded me of some truths. But one of the things that it also reminded me of is that, Michael Singer had this incredible life and this incredible stories. It's a true story about his life. But one of the things that, I know he mentioned is that, years and years and years of doing this work, and still he would find his personal mind wanting to react to situations, right? To his personal mind still had a preference that Mikey, that version of him, that personal mind version of him, still had a preference, still had likes and dislikes, wanted and unwanted, years and years and years, decades after he had started this work. And so what he just kept reminding himself of is it was a process of then releasing, right? Releasing and letting go, realizing that the personal mind is always going to come and try and interfere, right? Because its primary job, the subconscious mind's primary job, is to protect you, to keep you safe, survival. And so if it sees something as a threat, it is going to be loud and get in the way. And that is normal, right? That is normal. So it's all about cultivating this deeper connection to truth, to source, to your presence, to the deep presence within, and coming back to that so that you can feel that safety and security within, and a connection to something bigger than your personal mind, to the source energy, to consciousness, so that you can know in a deep way that you've always been guided. And that becomes your sense of safety and security. And like I said, sometimes my personal mind even gets in the way. And it's been my deep reminder that I need to deepen again that connection to the truth of who I am, and remain in that place so that I know that I'm being guided. I know that things are unfolding for me. And no matter what the outer world looks like right now, that is a reflection of what is going on internally. And internally, that is the place that we need to reside. That is the place that we need to get our sense of safety and security from. The outer world, it's old news, right? It's old news. It's catching up to the internal shifts always, right? It's always catching up. So when we are reacting to the external world, we are always we're always in a loop. We're always playing catch up, and our mind is never going to work it out because consciousness, our higher self, sits above it all. It sees there is no time, right? So it's seeing all timelines, everything all at once, right? So it knows how to get you from point A to point B, and it sees the journey, and no matter what that looks like with all the twists and turns, it sees the path of how things can unfold in the best way for you, right? But your mind can't see that because your mind only knows the know, it only knows what's been before, it only knows past experiences, and that is limited. That is so limited. So this is a podcast I didn't want to record because, like I said, I was trapped in my mind, and I felt inauthentic. I was like, oh, if I feel so trapped and caught up in my own stories, how can I, authentically share with others? And for me, it's very important to, I allow things to flow through me. And so there's a deep resonance, a deep connection, a deep authenticity that comes through that is important. I'm not just showing up to, I don't know, share stuff. It's like it needs to be real. It needs to be real for me. It needs to be real for you. It needs to flow through. So that was the journey that I needed to go on to kind of be kind to myself, realize that there were personal stories that had become too loud. And it was a bit of a wake up call to deepen again my connection to truth, to be kinder to myself, to realize, and like I said, it's been a fundamental lesson that I can be a work in progress and a teacher at the same time. And that every time I go through another challenge, dip, whatever we want to call it, little mini breakdown, there is a breakthrough and a new lesson to share. So I look forward to sharing more over the coming weeks. I hope that this has spoken to you and helped you wherever you're at. I love you all. Bye for now.